No
Okay.
stress if we hear the ding dong.
All right. All right. So welcome this afternoon to Engaging Students with Teams and Office 365. So I'm happy. I'm here as you and as Cobblestone. So if my camera goes off, you'll see a C for Cobblestone. I'm part of their extended team, and I'm here today supporting Alex. But I'm also here as a student because I need to learn. I'm in a Teams platform this year, and it's breaking my brain. So hopefully you will learn along with me, and you'll feel like some of the questions I ask maybe are similar to what some questions you have. And we're going to start actually with a question period. So what are your burning questions about Teams? Welcome back, Laura. And Alex is our genius, our leader, our genius 3-hour leader. So our fearless leader that will be guiding us through engaging with Teams.
Perfect. Let me get that full screen. So I think we're ready to kick it off. Tammy, let me know if there are people that are coming in or questions that come up, et cetera, et cetera. So as Tammy said, this workshop is going to be recorded, so you can come back to it at any time. We are your lovely team for today. So my name is Alex, and I am joining you from Montreal. I am the presenter for today. Hopefully it's going to be an interesting and encouraging and enlightening session that you'll have today. My first actual job in education was for the EMSB, and the first tech presentation I ever saw was from Tammy. So it's so fun to, a few years later, now be delivering sessions with Tammy when she was the first one that I ever saw present on EdTech. I worked for the EMSB for about 1.5 years, and then I went and worked directly for Microsoft for about 5 years doing Office 365 integration in school boards. And now I work with the Cobblestone Collective on doing lovely and interesting, engaging sessions like this. Tammy, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, if some people might not know who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Alex. I love the full circle of this. So my name is Tammy Brewster. I'm an educator with the English Montreal School Board, who is, I'm working for the Quebec Online Alliance this year. So I am in a remote setting again this year. My pronouns are she, her. I'm joining you from Montreal, which is unceded territory. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Tammy. If you're wondering what Tammy and I are talking about when it comes to unceded territory, we've actually both taken a look on this wonderful website called native-land.ca, and this will actually show you where you are joining from. So from today, it's very likely that you're participating, learning, or teaching from or on near traditional territorial lands. I'm currently on unceded lands, which means that it was never actually given over to Canada. It is not ceded territory. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge that and know that I'm presenting from the traditional homes of the Mohawk and Haudenosaunee nations. If you don't know where you are presenting from or learning from, or where your school is located, it's a really interesting activity that you could do at the beginning of the year with your students, just to find out really where you're presenting from or where they're learning from. It can be quite an interesting little activity to do. So a huge thank you to the Cobblestone Collective for providing and facilitating this session today, and a big thank you as well to Microsoft Education Canada for supporting this session. This is today's plan. So I'm going to start with a quick review, mostly questions, anything that you wanted to learn from this morning session. If you weren't in this morning sessions, any questions before we get started, just because I want to make sure that we're kind of all starting from a good base, that we understand really what the platform is. And then our 3 main focuses today are going to be on breakout rooms, assignments and grades, and the class notebook. And then we'll talk a little bit at the end for certification. So how do you get credit for having participated in today's session? I also want to point out that I have built in some try time in each of these sections. So I'm going to show a lot of things, and then I'm going to give you a chance to actually try it out on your own, give you a few minutes to work, and then come back and actually go through, make sure that everything worked, and answer any questions. So I'm going to do my best to make it as interactive as possible over the next 2.5 hours. I know that 2.5 hours is a long time to sit through PD, but hopefully with that try and test time, we'll really have a chance for everyone to kind of explore and learn on their own. You'll also notice that I included in this slide deck a lot of the slides that were covered this morning. And that simply, in case you weren't here this morning, then you can actually go through and see them. Under the Teams bracket, I've included all the different kind of key pieces that Damien touched on this morning, like the layouts, how to join, how to create, just in case you weren't able to participate this morning and you want to have those same kinds of quick tips and quick things that you wanted to learn around the Microsoft Teams platform. At least that's there for you now in all one deck. So before I continue, I have stopped sharing my screen. I'm just going to hand it over and ask on your side, is there anything that you saw this morning that you would like clarification on? If you were not in the session this morning, is there anything that you would like to ask about Teams before we get things kicked off and we really talk about all the different sessions, all the different topics that we're going to cover today? I like to do this, especially when we have a two-part morning and afternoon, just in case there's anything that kind of really went over your head or something that you thought about over your lunch break that you're like, oh, I wish we would have had time to see that. I definitely do not mind if you talk out loud. If you want to raise your hand, you can do that as well. If you feel more comfortable writing in the chat, you're more than welcome to write in the chat, but I'm happy to answer questions out loud. So I just want to give a couple of minutes. Is there anything that you really would like some clarification on from this morning's sessions? Another Alexandra. Yes, Alexandra, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm more than happy to do that.
Hi, everyone. Or is there a way where we can take more classes online at our own convenience and get certification or?
Yes. So I will be talking about a section of the Microsoft platform today called the Microsoft Educator Center at the end of today's session. That Microsoft Educator community has a lot of online learning and self-directed courses that you can take, and you do get certification and badges and things for that. We also do offer courses through Cobblestone. So if you liked, participating live and having that kind of hands-on experience with Cobblestone, we do offer quite a few Microsoft sessions. So we'll also at the very end be putting our link into our website there where you can see what's happened. You'll also see that we actually have quite a few that we've already done. So if you're like, like a couple of weeks ago, there was a great session on OneNote, for example, and I missed it. You could still register for that session that's already happened. And then if you do that, we'll send you the recording. So you can actually just go and watch that. So if there's anything on that website that interests you, you can either register for something that's already happened or something that will happen. And then we can have those types of sessions.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Any other questions? Just want to make sure, because I know when I was first learning Teams, there was so much going around in my head. Maybe in the chat space as well, you can let me know on a scale of 1 to 5 how comfortable you are in Teams. 1 being like, today's the very first day that I even found out what Teams is. And 5 being like, I understand Teams. This is just a refresher for me. So let me know in that chat space, where do you fall on that 1 to 5? Okay, so we've got some 1s, some 2s, some 5s. This is great. We've got a good mix, some 2s. That's awesome. 1s, 3s. Next to 0, that's perfect. You're in the right place.
We have the whole range. So I feel like I'm a 1.5. Maybe I'm at a 2. No, I think I'm probably a 2 and a bit, a 3. But I'm much like Kathy, where I'm a lot more comfortable in Google, the Google Classroom environment. But learning Teams, just trying to stay 2 steps ahead of my students, so that I can give the best learning and experience for them. So
yeah. Okay, awesome. So it doesn't look like we have that many questions. Everything seems to be okay. As I said, I'm very much a believer, and if you have a question, please just stop and interrupt me. I'd rather answer it while we're talking about it than have to remember and come back. So if you do have a question in the middle of something and you're like, stop, Alex, I want to see how you did that again, please do just ask. Tammy will let me know if there's a hand raised. I'll stop. I'll come. We'll answer your question. We'll keep going. It's a lot easier for doing it in real time. So I'll share my screen again with you.
We do have one burning question, but I know that you're getting to it later. And it's how do teachers and students interact with Class Notebook from Melanie, and submit, receive work there? Melanie, I'm here for the whole
section. Yeah, we have a whole section just on Class Notebook today. Like I'm going to spend probably 45 minutes of our session just talking about Class Notebook. So hopefully, Melanie, that will become a little clearer after today's session. I'm going to show you that in great detail, from setting it up to working with it to correcting with it, etc. So I promise we will get to all of it. Okay, I am just going to share my screen again. You can let me know. There we go. So again, as I said, I have included some important slides from this morning's presentation in case you weren't here, specifically around Microsoft Teams in and of itself. I have highlighted again here how you can get to Teams through the web. If Damien did not mention it this morning, we really suggest that you use the Microsoft Teams application. It is a much better tool, and you actually get all of the newest updates that get pushed to Teams through the app first. If you are the educator, which in this case you are the person that's managing the environment, you are the person that's running the environment, the Teams app is really the place to be. You can absolutely use it through the browser if you need to, but if you have your own work computer, you're used to using that personal or work provided device, you have the Teams desktop application and you should be using it. It's much more convenient. It works a little bit better. There are more options, especially when it comes to meetings and sharing. So try to use that desktop application. I have hyperlinked here where you can download it if you do not have it yet. It also works on iPads. It works on phones. You can kind of have it everywhere. So I put the link there for that. It works equally as well for Mac or PC. It doesn't really make a difference. The application is the same on both platforms. So you have those options there for you. And then, as I said, I just put like the important remember highlights things from Damien's presentation. So knowing where the different options are in your menu, how to switch between that grid view versus switching through to that list view. So all of those kinds of options I have put in this slide deck for you, but I am going to start right here around creating breakout rooms, because that's the first thing. So I'm pretty sure that with Damien, you talked about how to create meetings, how to work in those meetings, the different meeting options that you have when it comes to Microsoft Teams. And one of those key pieces that we can see both in the Google environment and also in the Microsoft environment is the breakout room feature. So how do you actually create breakout rooms so that you have access to those small spaces in your larger meeting? So Microsoft Teams does have breakout rooms. You can have up to 50 breakout rooms. That seems like a lot. I don't think you would ever need 50 breakout rooms, but you can have that if you need it. You can decide how you would like your participants to be set out into those breakout rooms. So did you want to automatically assign them? So have the system do its kind of random pick and push out? Or did you want to choose specifically the students that you want in those breakout rooms? I know sometimes we kind of just want to choose that random and you work with who you're partnered with. And other times, depending on the project, you might want to actually choose your groups ahead of time. This is great if you're doing group work and you want to facilitate a place where that group can discuss. But in your overall meeting, then maybe you would want to manually choose how those students can be broken out. You can then go in and see the different rooms, see if the students are in the rooms, join the rooms, all of that kind of fun stuff. I'm going to show you live, but I just wanted you to have that little reference guide to look back on and see how those breakout rooms can actually best be set up. As I said, you can have up to 50 of them, and you have options for each room. So you can rename your rooms, you can join them, you can start them, you can close them, you can delete them. It's a very easy way. It's not a difficult system to use to actually manage the breakout rooms once you've started them. And then you can also choose how to get students into which room. So you've got the option to kind of shuffle everyone up. So if they go into one breakout room and then you want to join another room later on in that same meeting, you can shuffle them all around so that the students meet with a different person this time. You can also delete the rooms and you can mess around with the different settings for each room. So how do we actually get going with breakout rooms? I am going to show you. So I'm going to come to my Microsoft Teams space. Again, I am choosing to use the desktop application because it's the one that works best for me. And I am actually going to come to my calendar. Again, I'm going to give you a chance to try it out, but you're going to come to your calendar. And as you can see, I actually already have a meeting made specifically for breakout rooms today. So if I've already got a meeting that I've organized that is a reoccurring meeting, maybe I see my students every Thursday from 12:15 to 3, maybe I'm just going to want to do breakout rooms there. If not, you can always create a new meeting and schedule a meeting with your students. I'm sure Damien covered it as well this morning, but if you want to do a new meeting, you can simply come to your calendar, click new meeting, and then you enter the information. Again, if you don't want your students to be added one by one, then you can actually plan this meeting inside one of your teams in a specific channel. So I'm going to choose my class in the general channel. That's where I'd like us to be able to meet. And then I'm going to go in and add the title for the meeting and all of that information. And again, as you may have seen this morning, you can allow students to forward or not, request a response that you know if they've accepted it or not. You can have a registration page if you want to. That's definitely more for webinars and seminars, but it is there for you if you need it. Since I already have a meeting prepared with my students, I'm actually just going to go into that meeting. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit join. And it's going to bring me into my Microsoft Teams meeting. You will have seen this screen before as well. This kind of gives you the choice of your video and audio. I'm just going to have everything off because I'm not actually meeting with real students. And I'm going to join now. So now I'm going to be in my Microsoft Teams call. And in here, you will see you have that lovely menu across the top. In here, you can see what participants will have been added. So these are the students that are in my class. I'll be able to see that chat space where I can talk with my students. There's that raise the hand for all of the different reactions. You've got that little square within a square, which is the breakout rooms feature in a Microsoft Teams call. Then you've got all the other options that are available to you, which if we have time, we can go back and look at. But what I'm going to focus on today is really that square within a square for your breakout rooms. So I'm going to click on breakout rooms. And you can see if I've actually used this room before, so I've created this meeting before, I've created this environment before, and I've created the breakout rooms, it'll bring you right to this screen because it's already got all of your breakout rooms. If it's a brand new meeting that you've never set up before and you've never checked in on, if I come in and join this meeting and I press the breakout room, so this is a meeting I've never joined, I've never entered, I haven't prepared anything in this space, and I use that same breakout rooms feature, this will be the first screen that you get. So in this first screen, if you want to create breakout rooms for the very first time, what you're going to have to do is choose the number of rooms. As I said, you can have up to 50. So I'm going to say I'm going to need 3 rooms, for example. And I am okay with it automatically assigning people. I would like this to just be a random group project, so I can do that automatically. If not, and I choose manual, then I have to go in and choose step by step which student goes where. I'm happy to just automatically create the rooms, and Microsoft Teams does the heavy lifting for me. It creates the rooms and organizes them and sets them up and pushes the different students to the different rooms. Now you're going to say, well, Alex, how come there's no students? Like, why are these all empty? It's because I don't actually have anybody in this meeting with me. There's no one actually here to push out into those rooms. But if you did have students that were actually participating, you would be able to do that.
So, Alex,
go for it.
Sylvie, Sylvie, who's a little lost.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she needs to figure out if it's a continuation of this morning or if it's in breakout room. So I'll let Sylvie ask her question.
Go for it.
Oui, excusez-moi.
Allez-y, il n'y a pas de problème.
Je me demande, est-ce que c'est une suite de ce matin, cet atelier, parce que je suis vraiment perdue dans ce que vous dites. J'essaie de voir avec le lien que vous nous avez envoyé. Je ne retrouve pas les mêmes diapos que vous montrez en ce moment.
Qu'est-ce que je montre en ce moment? C'était un démo, mais ils sont dans la présentation PowerPoint que Tammy va avoir partagée. C'est sur la diapo 31, 32 et 33.
OK.
Et puis, oui, c'est une suite de ce matin. Fait que l'explication de qu'est-ce qui était Teams, comment créer des canaux, comment créer des meetings, etc. Ça, c'était tout expliqué ce matin. Puis ça, cet après-midi, c'est comme la deuxième phase, on va dire, de façon de plus engager les étudiants, dont dans des trucs comme des breakout rooms, comme le class notebook et les devoirs.
Parfait, merci. Je ne suis pas à ma place du tout.
C'est pas grave, Sylvie.
Parfait.
Okay, there we go. So I'm going to just reshare. Here we go. Share my screen. And there we are. So, as I said, I'm in my Microsoft Teams. I have got my meeting going on. I have created my breakout room. And now I've got these 3 rooms that are available to me. So in those 3 rooms, what I can do is I can create a new room if I want to. Let's say I want to add a 4th room. By doing the plus button there, I can add a room. You'll see here that this little announcements feature will be here. I'll come to that in a second. I can shuffle all of the breakout rooms. So I can recreate the rooms with different students that will go kind of all in their own new rooms. I can remove some rooms. So I can delete some of these rooms if I want to. And then under the settings, which I think is a really cool feature of the breakout rooms, is I can actually decide a time limit, and I can actually go into the options of automatically moving students to their rooms or automatically bringing them back from the rooms that they're in. So if I say here, for example, I want to set a time limit and I would like my students to only converse for 10 minutes. So I'm going to give them a 10-minute kind of breakout environment. This will automatically move the students to the rooms when I start. And 10 minutes later, it'll automatically bring all the students back to that main meeting. So I don't need to do any manual send out and bring back students. It will do it all on its own. I also have the option to allow students to come back to the main meeting on their own or not. Depending on the project, depending on the way that you're working, you might want students to be able to come back to that main room on their own, but you also might not want them to be able to. So those are the kind of settings that you have in that little settings wheel right when you create the breakout rooms. And you obviously can do that before we actually open the rooms. I can just click on those room settings and go ahead and open them. Usually when you have participants in the room, you'll have an option to start them all, but because there's no one here, I can't open them or close them because there's no one here, but you would be able to do that in a normal scenario where you have other students. Then you have that little announcements, little kind of microphone. That announcements microphone allows you to actually go in and send an announcement out to all students in all the rooms. So you could actually go in and make an announcement for all of those students in that space. So it's a pretty easy way for you to kind of say 5 minutes left or 10 minutes left or finish up your last idea and then go in and make sure that all the students can see that. If you don't want to keep the names of the rooms as room 1, 2, 3, and 4, because maybe that's a little bit boring, what you can actually do is rename the room. So if you wanted to call room 1, for example, blue, and then you wanted to have, for example, a green room, you can actually go in and rechange those names depending on which type of activity you're doing. If you have a group project, maybe you want to call them group 1 or group 2. It's completely up to you. But those breakout rooms really allow you to kind of go in, visit each of the rooms, see what's going on, and then come back into that main space. So before I try to show you actually going in and out of rooms, are there any questions around the breakout rooms? So let me know if you have any questions, concerns, misunderstandings, things you'd like to know how to do, because if that's the case, if there are questions, I'd rather get to them now, and then I'm actually going to let you give it a try. So let me know if you have any questions around the breakout rooms.
So there is one question that came, I think, when you were talking about creating a meetings from Melanie.
Yes.
She just wanted to know what's the advantage of creating a meeting within a channel?
So the advantage of actually creating that meeting within a channel is that you do not then have to add all of your students as individual invitees. So I'll actually show you what that looks like because it makes a little bit more sense if we can see the whole thing. So if I actually come to my Microsoft Teams environment, so if I come to this space right here and I decide, oh, I'm going to put a meeting with my students at 3 p.m. I'm going to come here, I'm going to say new meeting. And in that new meeting, I'm going to say this is going to be a book report, discussion, and Q&A period. Okay. If I want to add students, let's say I've got 30 students, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type, for example, Alfonso, and then I'm going to type, for example, Adele, and then I'm going to type, for example, Marsha. I don't want to have to do that 25 times because I have 25 or 30 or 40 students. I already know that the group that I would like to meet with has a Microsoft Teams already created for them. So if I come to that add channel, it's going to show me all of the teams that I have. And I know that I want to meet with my grade 4 group 2. And because we're talking about our book report, I actually have a channel for English. So now it's what the system is going to do is that it's going to send an invitation to any student that is a part of my grade 4 class in my group 2 in the English channel that there is going to be a Teams meeting. So if I do that and I press send, for example, I don't have to think about sending it out to every individual student. It will already put it in the calendar of every student that is part of my grade 4 class. And when I come and look at my team space and I go into my grade 4 group 2 into my English channel, you will also see that it gets published here, making it easy for students to just simply click and join in right from our Microsoft Teams space. So instead of sending an individual email to the students, it publishes it straight to our team space and pushes it into the calendar of all of the students that are already part of that team. Does that answer the question? You can let me know yes or no. Let me know. Is that good? Melanie looks to be okay, I think.
Yeah, no, sorry. It was good. I had my mic on, but you couldn't hear me.
It's all good.
It's good.
Awesome. Any other questions around the breakout rooms before I kind of give you a chance to try? I know that you won't have students in your teams because we're just going to create a fake meeting, but at least you'll be able to see the kind of the process that we go through. Any questions, concerns? Are you lost? Are we doing okay? I really want to make sure that everyone's on understanding.
I think we're good. I think everyone is
awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do then is I would love for you to come onto your Microsoft Teams space, whether that be inside the web app or whether that be inside the desktop application. It just depends completely on you. And your next little task, I can say, is to follow these 3 steps. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a meeting in your calendar, just like I showed you. You can either do that by inviting your different channel or simply by adding a few students in. Then I'd like you to join and start the meeting. So actually get it going, click join. And then what I'd like you to do is search for that little square, create a breakout room, name your rooms, and just see what you can kind of do in those settings. So I'm going to give you probably a good 5 minutes just to try that out. Go ahead and give it a try. If you have any questions while that's happening, anything that you're like, oh, I'm unclear, or that didn't make sense, or this didn't work for me, let me know. But if not, this is a you try time. Off you go. You have 5 minutes to go ahead and try to do those 3 things. So create the meeting, join the meeting, and try to get your breakout rooms at least kind of set up and organized.
Karima, hi, do you have a question?
Non, ça va, c'est résolu. Merci.
Oh, parfait. De rien.
Okay, how are we doing? Let us know in that chat space when you think that you've completed those 3 steps. Or any hurdles that kind of came along the way. 2 more minutes. Okay, no problem. We can definitely have a couple more minutes. Don't worry, Ellen. No one's talking at the moment. We're okay. We're all still on mute. We're just giving you time to work quietly.
Thanks, Susan and Lisa and Jana, who are letting us know that you're done. Hélène, Kathy, awesome. Folks I love when people are tinkering and figuring it out and getting that chance to try. It's a great way to start building that muscle memory. Laure and Amanda and Cynthia.
Perfect.
Awesome.
How was that? Easy, complicated? How did it go? Let us know. Easy, awesome, perfect. Okay. What I'm going to try and do is actually give you a demonstration of what it looks like to have students in the breakout room. I've just kind of done some adminning on the back end, and I think I've figured out a way so that you can see both sides of things. Just give me a second as I test this out, because it's confusing when you have multiple accounts all over the place. So I'm going to do my best to show you exactly what it would look like if you actually did have students with you. So I'm going to go through the process again, just so you can get familiar, just in case. I'm going to come to my Microsoft Teams space. I'm going to do a new meeting. I'm going to call this Breakout Room Tryout this time. And I am going to put it in that same channel that I did before. So in that general environment. And I'm going to put it today, let's just say starting at 3 till 3:30. I'm going to send that out. So that breakout room, again, was organized in my Microsoft Teams in that general channel. I should actually now have an account as a student right here. So I managed to finagle it so that I can do both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to join that Microsoft Teams meeting. So I'm going to hit join here. And I'm going to make sure that all of my audio is off so I don't have any horrible echoes. So this is the teacher side of things. I'm as the teacher. I'm signed in. I'm now going to go as a student. So here is my student. Oops, I just hung up on myself. Let's not do that again. Join. I'm now going to go as a student. And in that student space, I'm going to try to join the same meeting. So I am going to come right into this meeting. As the student, I'm going to go into the breakout room tryout, and I am going to go in and I should be able to join it. So I'm going to hit join. I'm going to allow it to see me and to hear me, but I don't need either of those things. And there we are. So as the student, you'll see that I don't actually have the option to create a breakout room. That's normal. I'm the student. I shouldn't be able to create a breakout room. But as the teacher, what I should be able to do is create that breakout room. So I'm going to do breakout rooms again. This time I'm only going to use 2, and I'm going to automatically create those rooms. And now you will see that I will actually have a breakout room with a student in it because I've got a student in this meeting with me. So there I am. I can see that Alex is in group 1. As you can see, for anybody that's working on the Quebec Online Alliance, I think it's called, your students are there as guests. A guest can still join a breakout room, which is good news for us. So you can see here that I've got those 2 rooms. I can see that Alexandra is a member of this room, of this specific room. If I want to shuffle it, I can recreate the rooms. It'll delete the ones that exist, reshuffle it up. I can then choose to automatically assign or manually assign. So this time I'm going to manually assign just so you can see what that looks like. And I'm going to put Alexandra and I'm going to put her into assign to room 2 this time. So I can do this for all my students and then just simply hit assign one time and it's going to move the participant into that room that I want them to be in. And now Alexandra is part of room 2. Again, as I mentioned before, you can delete the room, recreate, put those settings if you want to, and then I'm going to say open the room. And now what you'll see on the student side of things, this is me as the student, all of a sudden I'm actually going to be moved out. You can see I get that notification saying your breakout room has started. You'll automatically be moved, and the system itself is going to kick me out of that main room. And now I'm in this breakout room 1. I'm in that, or breakout room 2, I should say. So if I actually look at my Microsoft Teams, you can see that Alex is in that room. I can go in and take a look at that room if I want to. I can actually use that announcements feature, as I mentioned before, to make an announcement. So I can say like 5 minutes remaining for all, finish up your discussions. And if I press send, you'll see on the student side that I actually get a little pop-up notification in the conversation. And there's that notification that my teacher just sent, 5 minutes remaining for all, finish up your discussion. If I'm the teacher and I actually want to join group 2, I want to be able to see those students and go and talk with them and converse with them, I can simply click on those 3 dots beside the room and say, I want to join this room. That will actually remove me from the main room and put me into that meeting, that group 2. I can now see that Alex is here and we can start having a conversation. So I can say like, how is everything going in your meeting? Any questions? Maybe I want to quickly go in and send them an emoji, like give me a thumbs up. How are we doing? I'm happy to be here. Whatever it may be, I can have that discussion with the students in that breakout room. I can see when students raise their hand. I can choose to share my screen with them. Anything I would like to do, I can do that. If I press leave as the educator, I am not closing the breakout room. I'm simply going to say, I'm done with this meeting. It still comes back to that main space. So the students can actually stay in that room at that time. And then when I'm ready, I simply do close. And closing the breakout room, you'll notice from the student side of things, it'll actually say, you're automatically going to be moved back to that main meeting. You will automatically return to the whole class scenario. So it does a really good job of breaking everyone out and then bringing them back together. The other question we often get from educators is when they're in that main meeting, let's say they're back in that main room, how do I know what my students are talking about or doing when they're in that breakout room in their chat space? What's so great about Microsoft Teams is if I come to that chat, you'll see that I actually get the chat from the individual breakout rooms. So even if I didn't have a chance to visit, let's say room 3 or room 4, and the students in that room were using the chat space to talk, I can actually still see the discussion that's happening there, even if I'm not in that meeting breakout room at that time. So the breakout rooms does a really nice job of making, 1, it easy to manage, and 2, being able to really see what's going on, and 3, being able to make those announcements out to students. One last thing that's important to note is if you press leave, you just leave the meeting and it keeps going on without you. If you want to stop the meeting for everyone, then you're going to click on that little arrow and you're going to say end meeting. And this will say, you're going to end this for everyone. Are you sure you want to do that? Absolutely. I'm sure I want to do that. And then you'll see automatically on the student side of things, it got shut down. So everything was closed. They can't now go in and join that meeting anymore. It's over. Like the meeting is done. They can't get back in. The other thing that I'll point out, which is kind of interesting as well from the teacher side, is if I come back to that calendar and I rejoin that breakout room tryout meeting, let's say I just go in and I open it up by seeing it, what you'll notice here is that you actually get the meeting options and the different details. You also have the chat there, so it can show you the chat space that you have, and you get an attendance report. So you get an attendance report for every meeting. So if I want to know how long students were there, how long did they participate, I can actually just download that attendance report and take a look at it. So if I go to that attendance report, you will now see in this space that it's going to give me a, yes, thank you very much, no problem, the meeting time, the total number of participants, what time did it start, what time did it end, and it will show me how long each participant remained in the meeting. So Alex joined in at 1:11 and she left at 1:13. So I was there for 1 minute and 58 seconds. You'd be able to see all of that information for every attendance. So you automatically get an attendance report with each of your Microsoft Teams meetings. So super cool features. I'm going to stop and pause for question time, if we have any questions now that you've kind of seen from the student perspective. Let me know if you've got any questions. Tammy, anything new that you saw there? Was it helpful to see the student side of things so you could kind of see the flow between what happens?
Definitely, it's always great to see the student side because it's so hard for as a teacher to recreate that or to gather your colleagues to say, okay, I'm going to make you a student. So, and then my favorite feature is probably like the attendance report. So you'll have those receipts. So if anything ever goes wrong or somebody's saying, oh no, but they're always there, well, you're able to show and showcase that. So I that's one of the team's features that I enjoy quite a bit is that attendance report that just automatically is built in. But
Absolutely.
it looks like you're as usual, you're doing a bang up job and no questions yet. So nothing yet that I see in the chat.
Any questions from anybody? Let me know. Alexandra,
Oh.
yes, go ahead.
I was able to create the breakout rooms, but I can't add people. Like I created 2 Hotmail myself twice because I have to, but I can't add it. It says assign participants to breakout rooms, but when I do it, it just says cancel. So
That's because there's actually nobody in the meeting at that time.
That's
so
why.
you'd have to go into your Hotmail account, like click the invitation, go into the meeting on the web, let's say from your Hotmail account, and then from the Teams app, you'd see that you're there, and then you could do that. So if the meeting is empty, you can't assign anyone because there's no one there to assign. You're in a meeting on your own. But you'll notice that if you have students there, when you do push that assign option, it'll give you the list of all the students like you saw when I added myself from my other account. So don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. You did everything absolutely right. It's just that there's no one there to actually send out into the breakout rooms.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, it looks like we're doing okay. Questions, concerns? Can we move on? Let me know if in the chat space, can I go to phase 2 of the session today, which is on assignments, grades, homework. Awesome. Okay, Laura says yes. Heidi says we're good. Awesome.
Yep, some 2s like, yep, we're ready for 2. Yes, yes, yes. All right.
Perfect. Okay, I will reshare my screen with you. Off we go. And I am going to bring up the Microsoft Teams homework assignment extraordinaire. This is one of my favorite things in Microsoft Teams. Just maybe because I liked giving out homework. I don't know. I just think it's very well done. So Microsoft Teams has a homework component attached to it. And the way that it works is you can actually send out homework assignments to each of your Microsoft Teams classrooms. So Microsoft Teams, I'm going to be the first to admit, does not have the easiest or most convenient navigation. For a couple of years, we had teachers, Microsoft had teachers yelling at them saying, how come it's so complicated for me to just like find my homework assignments? Why can't I see all my assignments in the same place? Well, as of the beginning of this school year, Microsoft did a little rejig on how homework and assignments is laid out. So you'll actually notice that on the left-hand side of your Microsoft Teams space, you have a section called Assignments. And in that Assignments place, you can finally see all of the homework assignments for every class that you've ever given. So if you're a student, you would see all the assignments that are due across all of your classes. If you are the educator, you will see all of the assignments that you have sent out to students across all of your different classes. So you no longer need to go into the class, into the homework to see what's there. You can now just see all assignments in one place. So you can see what you have assigned. You can see what has been returned to you. You can see what you have saved as a draft in case you've started to create an assignment, but you haven't sent it out yet. And you can also see all the homework assignments for all the classes or filter down for the specific class that you're looking for. So you now have those 4 kind of options in assignments. You also have a new assignments layout with extra features. I'm going to go through every single option here. I'm really going to go A to Z for you. You'll be able to try doing it on an assignment. But a couple of important things to note. Microsoft Teams comes with Rubric. You can actually create rubrics and send them out yourself. You can also go in and assign group work. So you can choose to send this out to groups of students. So if you wanted to do group homework or group projects, you can absolutely do that. And now you can also push the homework assignments into the calendar of students. So that was a big complaint as well. All we could see in the calendar was our meetings and anything that we put ourselves. Now we can actually put due dates for assignments into the students' calendars, making it very easy for them to see what is happening in this week and in the upcoming weeks. So you can see there, you can group students and you can also do the assignments in their calendar. If you want to group students together, you can simply group them. And then again, you can choose how you group them, whether that's manually or whether that is a random grouping. The best part about group assignments is that they get one copy for the entire group that is collaborative, that can be worked on and edited at the same time. Okay, so I'm actually going to walk you through the creation of a homework assignment, and then I'm going to give you a chance to try it out. So I am going to, first of all, come to my Microsoft Teams space. I am going to come to my Alex is Amazing and Incredible class, and I am going to find the Assignments tab, which is right here. I could also do this the other way, which is going into the Assignments tab, and then going in and creating a new assignment from here. I personally prefer to go to the class I'm going to be creating the assignment for, but to each their own. It will really just depend on how you prefer to use it. If you go through the Assignments tab, you have the Create button there, and you'll be asked to choose the class. If you go through Teams and you're already in the class in the assignments, when you click Create, you won't have to choose which class it's going to. You're already in that team already. So I'm going to click Create to create my first assignment. And you'll notice that I get 3 choices. The first one is an assignment, being an actual homework assignment. The next is a quiz. So I can use Microsoft Forms, which is very similar to Google Forms if you're from that environment, and send out a quiz, an actual test, if you will, to students. Or I can actually choose, which I love, from a pre-existing assignment. So let's say I have 2 grade 4 classes. Maybe I don't want to reproduce the same homework twice. If I want to just go in and say, I've already done this once, I want to pull from my repertoire of already created homework, I can choose from an existing homework, and it will then bring up all of the homeworks that you have done in the other classes that you are a teacher in. And you can just quickly pick and choose. So I could say, okay, this one, and I want to reuse the Rosa Parks assignment, whatever it is that you choose. I am going to show you how to create a brand new assignment from scratch. So we're going to go to Assignment. And from here, you can see that I have all of those functions. And the easiest way to go through this is literally step by step. If for whatever reason you find the screen too small, like the fact that it's giving you 2/3 of the screen, you can always use this button up here, which just widens the space that it takes up. So now you get the full page. If you prefer that, some people like to see this dashboard on the left. Some people don't. That little arrows points out and just makes that tab bigger. I'm going to do it like this for now, so it's easier for you to see. So I'm going to call this, let's say, Halloween short story. Okay. If I could spell, there we go. Every homework assignment can be categorized. So if, for example, this is English Language Arts, I could call this ELA. If it wasn't going to be English Language Arts and it was going to be something else, I could put it as Science. Or I could put it as, I don't know, maybe it's the competency I'm assessing that I want to remember that this is what that category was for. I can simply categorize that. It's up to you. You do not have to do the category. It's just a nice feature. Then I can add instructions. So my instructions can be, please, on the Word document, write a short story. Here we go. With the theme of Halloween. Your story must contain 500 words. Please see Rubric for details, let's just say, okay? I can do whatever I would like in here. I can make specific words bolded. So let's say I want to make sure that 500 words is bolded and underlined. I can do that. I can like maybe underline and highlight the fact that they need to see the rubric for the details. Whatever it is that you choose, you can really make that your own. And then you'll see here that you've got the option to attach or new. Attach will allow you to pull in something that you've already got that's created. So maybe you have an example on your OneDrive that you want to use. When we talk about class notebook later, you'll see how that can be used. Maybe you have a link to a video that you would like them to watch before they fill out their short story. Maybe you want to do an activity on Make Code. Maybe you've already got a Microsoft Teams document somewhere. Maybe you want to do an assessment for reading progress. You can check all of those things out by doing an attachment, but I don't have a Word document yet. I want to give them a Word document for their short story. So I'm going to say new, and I'm going to choose a Word document. So what this does is actually going to give every single student their own copy of a Halloween short story Word. So I'm going to call this in here, Halloween short story, Halloween short story, and I'm going to hit done. Now, this is simply because I did not have a short story prepared for them. And what you'll see is that it actually tells me here that students cannot edit. I don't want that. I want them to be able to make changes to it because I want them to use this document as their actual homework assignment. So all I have to do is click on those three little Timbits and say, students edit their own copy, meaning that they actually get their own copy that they can work on. So this will do like a virtual photocopy and give every single student a copy of that document for them. So far, so good. I can decide how many points it's going to be worth. So let's say my short story is going to be worth 25 points. And following down that page, here is where I'm going to add a rubric. Microsoft Teams saves your rubrics. So if you create one, it keeps it there for you. So you can see I've got a reading progress rubric that I've used before. In this case, it's not going to be for reading progress. I need one to help me evaluate the criteria for a short story. So I'm going to add a rubric, and I'm going to call this for short stories. Is it worth points? Yes, because I've just said I want to grade this out of 25. And now I actually get to build my rubric. So what are my characteristics going to be? Am I going to look for example, grammar? Am I going to look for here clarity? Am I going to be assessing for organization? Am I going to be looking here for ideas? So I can have those 4 categories on the left-hand side, and then the criteria for each category. I do not have to put excellent, good, fair. I can say exceeds expectations, meets expectations, minimally meets expectations, does not meet expectations. I can change this from a 4 to a 5. I can do whatever I would like. This is really a customizable, 100% customizable rubric. You can also see that it actually distributes the weight evenly. So in my scenario, I don't really care that I don't need my grammar to be as equally important as my students' ideas and their clarity. So let's say I'm going to make grammar 20%. I'm going to make clarity 30%. I'm going to do organization at 20, let's say actually 15%. And then I'm going to make this 25. I think if I do math, okay, that's right. 50, no, 35. There we go. So there we go. Now I've got the correct percentages. That means that their ideas will be weighted more heavily than their grammar or their organization. I can obviously fill in the different criteria. I won't actually do this because it will take me forever, but you can see the idea. And then I'm going to attach the rubric. So now the students will get with their homework assignment, the title, the description, and the instructions, the document that they can work on, how many points it's going to be worth, and the rubric that they'll be graded on. I can decide who to assign it to. So that's the class I want to assign it to. Is it going to all students, individual students that I'd like to select, or groups of students if I want this to be a group assignment? All students will literally do every single student. Individual students, it will bring me the list of my class, and I could say, okay, you know what, Kara, Alex, and Al, they get it, but Ashley gets a different due date, so I'll send her a different version. Maybe she gets some extra resources. Maybe she gets a bit more time, depending on if she's on an IEP or not. I can do that if I would like to. If not, it can go to all students. I can also, as I said, group students together. So maybe I would like to give an assignment manually, and I would like, for example, Alex and Kara to work together, and they will be group 1, and then I'm going to create that, and then I could do group 2. But as you can see, it's very easy to send out the homework assignment to groups of students or individual students. In this case, I'm going to send it to all my students. You can also see that if your students are not a part of the class at the moment, do you want this to be assigned to your students if they join your class late? This is a particularly helpful tool at the beginning of the year, especially if you work in secondary and you have a bit more shuffling of students. You can say, actually, I want to edit that, and I would like to send this assignment to all students that join this class after today. Elementary, that's not necessarily as important, but could be a nice feature for secondary. Then you can choose your due date. Again, I'm just following the order of the assignments. I am going to make this due tomorrow, and I'm going to make this due by, let's say, 4 p.m. That's when my class is over. It tells me here that the assignment is going to post right away, and it will allow students to turn it in late. If I don't want those options, I can simply click on edit, and I can choose whether I want this to be assigned right now, or do I want to schedule this to be later? Maybe I'm a teacher that's like really on top of my game. I'm preparing this on a Friday to be sent out on a Monday. I could say, actually, I want this to be sent out on Monday, let's say at 8 a.m. And I'm going to make it due on Friday the 22nd at 4. So I can prepare this ahead of time, and it will only be sent out to students on Monday. And I can also have a hard close date. So I can say, at 4 p.m. on Friday, late turn-ins will not be accepted. It won't even allow students to turn it in anymore if I choose that. I don't need either of those things for this scenario since it's just a demonstration. So I'm going to leave it as is. And I'm going to actually push this into the students and my calendar so that I remember when the homework assignment is going to be due. I can just quickly verify that I'm happy with my assignment, and I'm going to hit assign. And now that homework assignment called Halloween Short Stories, which is tagged as an ELA assignment, will be due tomorrow at 4 p.m. If the students click on assignments, they will see it in their assigned list. It will be right there for them, and they'll be able to see that they get a notification telling them that they have a new assignment that's there. Plus, it will push it into their calendar, telling them that it's due. They can go in and take a look at that. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to see if there are any questions, and let me know before I actually then go and show you what it looks like when you get an assignment back, and then I'll hand it over for you to try out. Okay.
There's some excitement in the chat.
Yay.
So Melina and Sandra were excited about some of the features that you were sharing. I know what I'm enjoying about the assignments is I love the scheduling. That's what I've done for today for my students. I've scheduled out their assignments so that they have it. And I also like giving like the soft close and the hard close.
Yes.
So just for planning purposes, like maybe I'll make something due on the Thursday, but saying, okay, Friday is like my hard, like I'll take it a day late and that's it.
Yes.
And students have said, like, I can't hand it in because you're late. For 6th grade students who are preparing for high school, I think it's a great feature. Kathy saying our high school
too, you'll see on the team side of things that even if they haven't handed it in, you can still see what they've done so far. So as the teacher, it's not like everything stays hidden until they hand it in. You can actually check on the students' assignments at any time. So if on Friday it's past the due date and they said, oh, I didn't hand it in yet, I'm sorry, you can go in and take a look and be like, oh, you know what, you actually completed it, you just didn't hand it in, versus you've written 2 sentences of your 500 words. Let's like have a discussion around that.
And is there like a history of like, can you see what was done as it was done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'll show you that too.
And thank you, Ashley and Teacher T, who's answering Catherine, Kathy, who was asking, are teachers using this feature regularly? So, and she's getting her answers. Yes, they are.
Yeah, and you know what? Like even if you're teaching in person, I love the assignments feature because I do, like as a teacher, I would do no more photocopying. I can send all of my students a digital copy. They get the document themselves. They don't even have to think about creating the document, assigning the document, attaching the document. Teams does that whole heavy lift for you. It builds the document, it sends the document to the students. It will send group documents, as you saw, or individual documents. It makes things really, really seamless. And then maybe you still need to print them off, or maybe you want to have the automatic rubric, but you want to still read the assignment in paper. You can absolutely do that, but it's so nice to just have everything created for you. Sure, students might still have binders, but this is such an easy way to like get things out and get things back. You shouldn't be emailing your students. Your students shouldn't be emailing you. You have this tool that does the send and the pick back for you.
Yeah.
I saw someone raise their hand.
Yeah, Laure is.
I have a question. Is there the French version of this?
Oui, c'est complètement en français aussi. Tout l'environnement Teams peut être bilingue.
OK.
Il faut juste en haut à droite, je vais te montrer après, tu as comme ton petit symbole.
Ouais, dans les paramètres, probablement.
Oui, c'est juste vraiment paramètres et tout se transforme en français, même pour les étudiants. C'est plus assignment, c'est devoir. Genre, toute la plateforme va switcher dans les deux langues.
OK, donc elle est prête à être utilisée.
Oh oui, 100%.
OK, merci.
Il n'y a pas de problème.
We have Lynn asking, so everybody's getting, I feel like the energy, like raising, like increasing in the room, saying woo woo. So folks are saying this is a mission for them to go paperless. One thing I would always just caution everyone is just make sure your students all have equitable access to a device. Yes. If you are going paperless, or provide them time in person to have access if they don't at home. And Lynn was just wondering if you could go over the rubric, how to create a rubric again as well. So I don't know if I just asked your question, Lynn, or if there was more to it. So feel free to unmute and add details, please.
Yes, that is my question. I'm in Teams right now, and I was trying to create a rubric, but it seems to go on and on and on, 12 blocks. I'm wondering how you did it so that you only had 4, and then I can see how I can enter other ones below to add up to 100%. But when I open it up, it seems to go on and on horizontally from 11 or 12 to 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll go through that rubric section one more time.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I'll just share my screen. That way we can see that again. So let's go into Teams. I'm going to go, this time I'll show you just through assignments in case you want to see something different. I clicked on the assignments tab, and now I'm going to hit create. And as I said, I'm going to still choose assignment, but this time it will force me to choose a class first versus the other time where I was already in the class. So I'm going to go to Alex's class. I'm going to do create. I'm going to skip all of these parts just to get to the rubric. So here I'm going to choose add rubric. You'll notice that the one I created for the short stories is there because I've already used it. So as I said, you create one time a short stories rubric, and then you can keep reusing it. So that's super nice that it's already there and just hangs onto it for you. If you want to create a brand new rubric, you click add rubric, and it defaults to 4 criteria with 1 option. If I hit a plus, it'll add a new category and a new category, depending how many categories I would like to evaluate my students on. But by default, there's 4. If I add a category and I don't actually need it, I can simply delete it, and then I go back to that category. Again, I don't need to keep the titles. I can say like exceeds, meets, minimally meets, minimally meets, and does not meet. And then again, I can give the description. So depending on what it is, again, organization, organization. Again, if I want to add another one, I can do plus, and I can say clarity. Let's say I do clarity, I enter all of the categories, and then I think, oh, you know, I've got another one that's really similar to clarity. I just need to change one word in the description. What I can do is I can simply hit that copy button, and it will copy it. So I get all of those kind of ideas that I wrote out, and then I can just change, instead of clarity, I can put ideas, and instead of putting clarity, I can say ideas. So I can just copy and paste kind of sections. I can even copy and paste these sections as well. And then once I'm done, I have to give it a title. So maybe this is for essays instead of short stories. And I can say attach. If I'm like, oh, I forgot to put the grade, like the weight, then I come to this point section, which is up here, and I just turn it on. Yes, and you can see it does 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Maybe I don't actually want that. Maybe I want that to be 10 points, 9, 8, 10, 7, for example. It is evenly distributing because I only have 3 categories, so it's weighting them evenly. If I want to change that, then I just click in that percentage and I change it. So maybe 50% is organization, 25% is clarity, and 25% is ideas. And then I simply hit attach. And now it's saved that rubric as an essays rubric, and I can continue. It's giving it 100 points. Maybe I don't want it to be 100 points. Maybe I want it to be 50 points. Okay. Did that answer the question? I believe it was Lynn.
Yes, it does. The only difference is that when I opened my rubric, it already had 12 categories. And when you opened yours, it only had 4. So I just deleted the rest. But that's great. Perfect. I got it now. Thank you.
Try again. Once you have that try time, I'm going to give you time to play. Try it again and you can take a look.
No, I just did it as you were doing it. So it worked.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so that's the creation sending assignment. I'm actually going to flip and now show you from the student perspective what they see, just because I can. So I am a student in Miss Alex's class. I see actually posted in our general channel that I've got an assignment that has been sent out to me. So I'm going to click view assignment because I want to see what's going on. And here we are. So I have got the Halloween short story. I know this is an ELA homework. It tells me how many points it's going to be worth. I've got all of my instructions here. I have a section called My Work, and there's that document that the teacher created for me that I can go in and work on. I have the ability to attach another document in case maybe I've got to do some research. Maybe I need to put like a reference page for articles that I'm using. I can attach that. I can create a brand new document. Let's say my teacher did not give me a document to work from and she wants me to create my own. I can create a new document. And I've got the rubric. So if I want to know exactly how I'm going to be graded, I can click on that rubric and it will show me, okay, to get 4 points in grammar, I need to do this. To get 3 points in clarity, I need to do this. So I can actually see that rubric. The other thing I really want to point out here is that Microsoft is really big on accessibility. If you have students that have any kind of visual challenges, visual difficulties, up in the top right-hand corner, there's this thing called the Immersive Reader. And the Immersive Reader will pull out all of the context and all of the information that's in this assignment and give it to students in an easy-to-read format. So in here, I can actually change the size of the text. If I have students that have dyslexia or dysgraphia and having the text really close together is difficult for them, I can increase the space. They can read it easier. This is the student that could do this. I can change the font so it's maybe easier to read. If I have a student that's colorblind, I could always put a different background on there. So maybe it's easier for them to see, for example, black on white versus white on black. Maybe I have a student that is new to Montreal or new to Canada and needs help with syllable parsing, or for early learners, maybe I want to have that symbols broke up. Maybe I want to have nouns and verbs and adjectives and adverbs highlighted just for fun because we're working on grammar in ELA. Maybe I'm a student that needs help focusing on what I'm reading. So maybe I need to have that line by line focus so that I can really pay attention to what's being said. Or maybe I'm just a student that needs to hear this instead of read it. Well, Microsoft Teams has that play button.
Instructions. Please on the Word document.
I can just listen to my homework assignment versus try to read the small instructions here. So don't forget that Microsoft Teams has that built in. It's called the Immersive Reader. It's kind of everywhere all over our platform, but if you didn't know, it is right there in assignments as well, and students can use that to help better understand. I hear microphones turning on. Tammy.
I was trying to be quiet too. Hélène has a really good question. Is Immersive Reader only available to students, or is it also available on the teacher side?
It's also available on the teacher side. It's kind of everywhere in Microsoft Teams. Even if I come to that posts, for example, and I want to see this meeting, the Immersive Reader is over this meeting. So if I wanted to hear the details of the meeting out loud, I can come to any message. I can click on Immersive Reader and it will give me that meeting read out loud if I wanted to know what that meeting was supposed to be organized for. It's pretty much everywhere in the Microsoft suite.
Fantastic. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I'm the student. I'm going to go and view my assignment, and I'm going to actually click on the work that the teacher gave me for my Halloween short story. So I haven't even done anything yet on the student side. I've just literally opened up the assignment, and that's it. If I come back to the teacher side of things, and I want to see what's happened so far, I can come up to that Halloween short story as the teacher, and there's Alex, and I can see that Alex has viewed the homework assignment, meaning she's opened it, she's taken a look at it, and she's opened the document. I don't know what's happened with these guys yet because they haven't even looked at it, but right away as the educator, I know Alex has gone in and she's viewed the assignment. So it's good for me. I get a little bit of insight into what's happening with that student. If I am now going to start typing as the student, I can go. So this Halloween, I decided that I would blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is that you would like. You can see that you've got the suggestions for spelling in here. If you've got a student that has any difficulties physically, i.e. they can't type on a keyboard, there's any kind of challenges there, Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Word, don't forget, have the dictate feature available to them. So I could dictate to my computer. So if I would like to start talking, I can absolutely do that using this platform. So I can click this. This Halloween, I decided that I wanted to dress up as a leaf. I don't know why I would be a leaf, but here we go. So you can actually dictate into your homework assignment as well. That is there as an accessibility feature. Let's say I wanted to add an image of a leaf into my homework assignment. I can go in and do insert. I can go get a picture. I'll choose a picture from Bing, for example. These are all Creative Commons licensed only, so your students can use all of the items and the images that come with this search automatically. There we are. I'm done my work for today. I'm not ready to hand it in yet, but I've done my work for today, so I'm just going to hit close. It has not turned it in. I've worked on it, but I have not handed it in to my teacher yet. And I can leave and come back and work on this, let's say tomorrow. On the teacher side of things, what's really so cool is that if I actually go to Alex and I see that Alex has viewed the homework assignment, I can click on viewed and it will bring me up in real time where she's at. So I can see, okay, she has gone in and started this Halloween. She started this paragraph. Let's say I know that Alex has kind of gone completely in the wrong direction. She's not really staying on task. What I can do is I could come in and I could add a comment for Alex. So I could come in and say, I'm going to leave a comment here and I'm going to tell Alex, hey, Alex, you may want to think about changing the way you've started this paragraph, for example. Now, Alex hasn't even handed in her homework assignment yet, but it allows me to see where she's at. From the student side of things, now when I go into my Halloween short story and I go to continue working on it, I actually will see, there's that comment from my teacher. I see that she wants me to change the way I've started this paragraph. I can say, okay, how do you think I should start, for example? Because these are in the web, because they're in Teams, it's automatically doing this update in real time. So if I come back to the teacher side, there's the comment from Alex. How do you think I should start? Now I can go back and say, you should think about doing whatever it may be and send that back. So it's instantaneous feedback if you want it before the student has even handed it in, because I can see what they're working on. As Tammy asked, do you have a history of what's happened? As the teacher side, if I come back and I go to Alex's homework, right above the actual title, you'll see that you have view history. And it will show you when Alex went in and worked on it. So it was assigned, this is when she viewed it, and we can see the edits that she's done based on the document. So really easy to see kind of what's going on. I'm the student. Go for it, Tammy.
We have lots of questions. You're like lighting fires in people. So Lynn asks, can you edit the rubric after it's posted in the assignment?
Great question. So if I come into this homework assignment and I open it up and I click on these 3 dots here, I can edit the assignment after it's been sent out. So I can edit the assignment. I can come into the rubric and make changes. Let's say I'm going to add a category. I can absolutely do that. And then I just hit update and it will update the assignment. So yes, you can.
Okay, awesome. And then immersive reader questions.
Yep.
Dictate instead of typing. Somebody's just excited. They didn't know that they had those features, but then they then came back and asked, can the immersive reader read PDF?
Yes, and I will show you how that can be done in the class notebook.
I tried the other day and I just kept stumbling. I was like, why isn't it working? So
Perfect.
I'm excited to see that one.
Okay.
Any other questions about this? I love when folks get excited, because I feel like people are like sitting up. It's like a great like mid-afternoon like energized saying, okay, look.
Perfect.
More questions are coming in. Okay, thanks so much.
No problem. Okay, so I'm going to be my student. I finished. I've made the adjustment my teacher has told me to make. I'm going to hit close. I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I'm actually going to turn it in. So I'm going to hit turn in. It is going to turn it in. There is that lovely little notification that I've turned it in. How come I can undo the turn in? I've handed in my homework assignment. How come I can undo it? Because it's only due tomorrow at 4 p.m., I can actually make changes up until that date. So just so you know, the student could go in, submit it, and then change their mind and go back and work on it a bit more, only up until tomorrow. But as the teacher, I would get the history that they turned it in once, they took it back, and they turned it in again, just so you know. My student has turned it in. I come back to my teams, and now you'd be able to see that when I go to that Halloween short story, I actually have one turned in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on turned in. It's going to bring me to the short story. If I want to go in and actually open just the Word document, I can click here, but I can see pretty well what's happened, so I'm fine with this. If I actually want to grade right on the rubric, I can just click on short stories and it brings up each rubric. So I'll start off with grammar, and then I'll go to clarity, and then I'll go to organization. You can completely correct that way if you want to. If you want to see the whole rubric laid out, all you need to do is click on that little arrow and it will actually pop up the entire rubric. So if you prefer to grade on a rubric like this, you can totally do that. If you're okay with grading category by category, you can. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say grammar. You know what? Your grammar on this assignment was perfect. That was perfect. Okay, that's that. I'm giving them a 4. I'm going to go to the next one. Clarity, I'm going to give a 4 as well. Super clear. Story, I definitely understood. Definitely understood everything. Then the next one, your organization, though, is only going to be 2, for example. You need to focus on that organization piece. Too many long paragraphs, for example. The next one, your ideas, 3, some original ideas, but whatever else it may be. Okay, and then I'm going to hit done. So it's automatically given my student 20.94. I don't think any student really wants to get 20.94. I'm happy to round this up to 21. So even though my student, was automatically graded based off of the rubric. I can actually change that if I want to on my own. And I can give feedback for the overall document. So your document was so great. I really loved your story because of blah, 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 blah. Let's just say. I'm graded Alexandra's. Totally happy with that. I can return it, or I can return for revision. So if I have a student that totally did not understand what was going on, they really, really missed the mark, I can return it to them to give them a chance to make up. So they can go back, make edits, and turn it back in again, even if it's after the date, because I've allowed for them to revise. If I'm done grading Alex and I want to go to the next student, all I have to do is choose that drop-down menu, and then I can move to Kara, and now I get Kara's assignment in front of me. So it's so quick. Because I sent out the homework assignment as a document that I prepared for them, I can so easily click between my students, quickly hit that rubric, grade their rubric, and send it back to them. Very simple to do and very efficient. If I'm done grading, I can press close. You can see that Alex is the only one that I actually completed grading for. I can return it. And again, I can return for revision if I want to. If I don't want to return it yet, I absolutely don't have to. I can just leave it as marked. I can see the mark there because maybe I'm taking a couple of days over the weekend to do my grading, and then I want to send them all out at once. I can do that by simply clicking all the students and returning all 4, or I can choose more individually one by one and return that back. So I've returned the assignment to the student. You can see that she's no longer in my list because she's in the returned category. You just heard that notification. That's because on the student side of things, I now see that my assignments has been returned. It gives me a little pop-up here, and I can go in as the student, see the assignment. Here's the overall feedback from my teacher. I can see my grade, and I can go to short stories, and I can actually see the entire rubric. So I got 4 points on this one because of this. I got 4 points on this one because of this. So it gives the student just as much visibility on how they did and where they did well as it does you on the educator side of things, actually going in and seeing all of those rubrics on your side. So you each have a really good view of what's happened in the homework assignment up until the time they hand it in, and then after when it comes to revision. So I think it's a really great tool. There's so much in here that you don't even realize. And especially if you're the one that's creating those documents for the students when you send it out, it makes the correction and the assignment and the back and forth so much easier. There is no back and forth. You create the assignment once, you send it to all students, and then they can easily submit back to you without ever having to send you a message or send you a document. You just simply see it right here and you can work on it so easily. You'll also see, if I go back to my team, for example, I was in that assignments category, it actually automatically does the grading for me. So I can see all the assignments I've sent out for the year. I can see when they were due, how many points they worked, if I tagged them, for example, what tag they came under, and the entire grading rubric for my whole class. Plus, I can even export this to an Excel spreadsheet if I need to have an Excel spreadsheet. So the automation that comes behind this platform with homework and grading is just phenomenal. I think it's so nice. It takes so much of the heavy lifting away from us as teachers and really gets us to focus on the content and the actual assignments that we're working on. So any questions, any comments, et cetera, et cetera?
We do. They're coming in. So Melanie is asking, is there a way for students to show math work? Which I think the answer is going to be yes in Notebook.
Yes.
Yep. And then Melina's asking, can you use a Google Doc or slides to post as an assignment instead of a Word doc?
Absolutely. You just have to use the link feature. So when you create your homework assignment, you have the option to include a link. And in that link, you could do a Google Doc or a slide. My question would be, why? What would be the benefit? That's the one I push back, because Google Docs and Word docs are the same. You have the same features. It is also collaborative, and it's also in the cloud, just like your Google Docs is. You can be multiple people that are editing at the same time. Same thing with your PowerPoint documentation instead of a slide. If it's a simple, because I already have them built in Google Docs, or I already have it built in slides, you could simply download it as a Word or download it as a PDF and then just send that out as well. So the only nice thing about sending out a Google Docs is if it's already built. But if you send it out as a Word, then the students can actually work on it inside Teams like you saw me do. If it's a Google Docs, the students have to go out of the Teams environment into Google Docs to work on it. You don't get that nice back and forth with the ability to comment and the ability to see what's going on ahead of time. Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Alex on that one, because it would be yes to everything she said, but can you still assign a Google Doc to be in each student's like digital photocopy? No, because they need to be in that platform. So it would create a lot of extra steps also, to having to upload, download, re-download, attach,
send.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
saw a
Marina's
hand
like, okay,
raised
thanks.
at some point. I don't know if the person kept their hand up or not.
Oh, I didn't even hear it go up.
Okay, I just saw it go and then disappear, so
It may have just been the wrong button.
it's all good. Okay. Would you like some time to try? Not even like the whole back and forth, but just to explore a bit the assignments tab to just kind of get a feel of what you can do, because then I would really like to spend like the last 50 minutes, 45 minutes just about Class Notebook. We're doing really well on time. We only had 3 things we wanted to cover. We've done 2 of them out of the 3, so that's great. We still have an hour. If I'm not mistaken, right, Tammy? We go till 3. I think so. So what I'll give you is just so you can kind of go through the steps and just see the assignments yourself, I'll give you about 5 minutes. Maybe you need a coffee break. Maybe you need a bio break. Maybe you need some water. Maybe you want to just try and set out the homework assignment and maybe see what the different options are. I'll give you about 5 minutes, and that way at 2:10, we'll be ready to start with the class notebook if that's okay with everyone. Does that sound okay? If you don't need the time to practice, as I said, go get some coffee, go get some refreshments, whatever it is that you may need. But if you would like to, take the next 5 minutes to kind of play around with the assignments and at least walk your way through maybe looking at all the steps. And I'll be here if there are any questions that come in.
Lynn is struggling a little bit with editing. the rubric after posting the assignment?
I'm just double checking that now, Lynn. It might be as simple as you have to remove the rubric and then use it and then change it. I'm just going to double check because I definitely can. I'm just doing it now, and I'll get back to you to make sure that the process that I told you was right. So just hang tight. I'll just double check.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, so Lynn, what you have to do is you actually just have to remove the rubric. I'm just going to show you here really quick. If I do my whole screen again, you can see, Lynn, in Microsoft Teams here that I went into this rubric that I had just built, the assignment. So I'll go actually back so you can see. I went into the homework assignment. In the top 3 dots, I did edit the assignment. I came in and I pressed the X to actually remove that rubric. So it's no longer associated. Then I go to add rubric. I find that rubric that I already created, short stories. Next. And now I can make any changes. So maybe this wasn't this, maybe this is now this.
Okay.
Right? I attach it and then I update it and it will automatically update it for the students.
Okay,
So
great.
Yep, you go in, you edit the assignment, and then you click the X to remove that rubric. Give it a couple of minutes, and then just if you do this little refresh right here, it'll refresh the page for you, and then you should have the option to add the new rubric, and then you add the rubric, the updated one.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Okay, no problem. The other thing that I forgot to mention, which I think is kind of cool, which I'll just point out now that I have the screen open, is if you ever want to do anonymous grading. I know sometimes teachers will like to just grade without knowing whose work it is. It gives you an option in Teams in that same 3 little dots to hide the student names. So you won't know whose is whose. So you could do anonymous grading. If for whatever reason you needed to, it'll just say student. You can go in and see and then do anonymous grading if you wanted to.
Which is a beautiful feature. Yeah.
So cool. Okay, so we have finished the assignments. It's 2:10. We're right on time. I'm just going to open back up my PowerPoint. And again, I've put those options right inside the slide deck. You have gone in and tried, which is great. Now we're going to get to what I will be completely honest is the most confusing part of today's session. So we kept the confusion to the end. Hopefully it's clear enough before that. The reason it's confusing is because there aren't many products like Class Notebook that exist. So if you think about Teams as a platform, you've got like the channels and the posts that you covered this morning with Damien. You've got the meetings, which you also covered, and we've talked through how to have the meeting virtual online learning environments. Now we've talked about the homework feature. So really that like send out, grade, and get back. Now this is kind of another component of the Microsoft Teams space, which we have a lot in regular in-person classrooms that we don't often see in virtual learning environments. And that is literally like the student's binder. So if you think about at the beginning of any school year, we send home to the students that they have to bring duotangs or binders. They have a duotang for every subject, and in there, we get them to put notes that they've taken, we get them to put activity sheets, not necessarily homework, but really that day-to-day in-class type of work. That is what a class notebook is. So the way I describe it is if you literally picture your physical classroom, and you at the front as the teacher or at the back, depending on where your desk is, you usually have some kind of library, bookshelf, filing cabinet where you keep all of the photocopies of all of the assignments and the activities and the books and the resources that you're going to actually use for your year. So you've got that like teacher filing cabinet content space. Then you've got all the students at their desks with their duotangs. Class Notebook takes those two key pieces and pulls them into one space. So Class Notebook is a digital note-taking tool that keeps you and your work organized, whether that be you as in the student or you as in the teacher. So if you are someone that is attached to that physical 3-ring metal or plastic binder, OneNote is the digital equivalent of that. So what is a OneNote? Where do you find it? What are the different versions? As I said, it's literally a digital binder. Each binder has sections. Each section has pages, and on each page there are notes. So you can see here there's a Module 1 binder. Inside the Module 1 binder, you have a section for week 1, for week 2, and week 3. And in that week 1 section, you have many different pages. So a lecture, a book review, a journal article, whatever it may be. Literally picture in your mind right now a 3-ring binder with the colorful tabs. And when you open each tab, you have the chunk of work that's going to be associated with that tab. That's how OneNote, the binder, is structured. A class notebook takes your organization and your students' organization and pulls it into one space. Now, what makes OneNote and this class notebook environment different than other documents is that it is a multimedia type of binder. So you can have organization with tabs. Don't think of this as a filing cabinet with like folders and pages in the folder. It's really a binder. You can tag contents. You can have like to-do lists. You could have steps of a project. You can draw in this binder. So if we're thinking about math or we're thinking about art, you can do drawing. You can have mixed media on here. So you could include videos in your binder. You could include web clippings in your binder. You can also do web clips, and you can include meeting notes, and you can include other documents. So it's really not like a Google Drive or a OneDrive environment where you've got folders, and in each side of folder you've got documents. It's literally a multimedia digital binder that you can use with your students for your day-to-day work. So OneNote, the program, is like that personal digital binder, and the one that we're focusing on today is Class Notebook, which is a student and teacher binder that really sticks together in one space. There are 4 sections in your class binder. You're going to have a content library. You're going to have a student notebook. You're going to have a space for collaboration, and you're going to have a teacher-only section. So I'm actually going to walk you through this. So don't worry if this sounds totally weird. It is normal. It is a weird space because it really doesn't exist in any other space. Like, there's nothing really like it in any other platform. There's nothing really like it in Google environment. Some people say that like Google Keep is kind of similar, but not really, because it's not a binder structure. This is really like something that only exists in the Microsoft Teams and Microsoft space. So you'll see that under every channel, under every team, under every team, you have this thing called Class Notebook. I'm going to click on that. This one has not been set up yet. Again, if you ever find that you don't have enough space, just click on that little arrows and it opens it up full screen for you. I'm going to walk you through and then I'm going to get you to try right away so you can try it out, and then we'll mess around with what we can actually do. So I'm going to set up my class notebook because it's never been set up. I'm going to click set up class notebook, and I'm going to do a blank one. Again, if you've already done a class notebook, let's say for 1 year, and you want to use it again the next year, you absolutely can. I'm going to do a blank notebook, and here we go. So I have got 4 spaces. A collaboration space is literally like the first chunk of sections in my binder. These are a space where the teacher can edit content and where a student can edit content. So think about this space as kind of like your class discussion, whiteboard, group project, team kind of hive mind mapping, a space where everybody can literally come and work together through ideas. When you're thinking about ideas for a project, when you're doing class discussions, this is a great place to dump all of those notes in that collaboration space. Then you've got a content library. The content library is a space that teachers can edit, but students can only view. The content library is your filing cabinet or your library. It's where you keep all of the things that students will need to use to do their in-class projects, their in-class assignments, their regular day-to-day class work, but that they cannot edit because you don't want them to edit your master copy. So that content library in your binder is that next section, and it's a place where students can go to see, but maybe not to work. Then you've got a section for your teacher yourself. So the teacher can edit, view everything. The student cannot view anything here. So maybe this is where you keep all of the assignments that haven't yet been sent out. Maybe this is where you keep in-class notes. Maybe you want to have notes on your students. This is a space that's only available to you. And then you have a student duotang or a student notebook. So inside your binder, you have a notebook for every single student. In here, the teacher can edit anything, but the student can only edit his or her own content, and they cannot see any other students duotang. So as the teacher, you can see through all 4 of these spaces. As the student, you can see the collaboration space. You can edit and view. The content library is the student. You can see it. The teacher-only section, you don't even know that it exists. And you can only see your own notebook. So those is what comes automatically. So I'm going to do next. And these are the sections that automatically get suggested for the student duotang. So let's say this is a grade 4 class. I would like to actually have a section for all the different subjects that we're going to teach. So I'm going to do a section for students for English, for math, for science, for art, for videos, because I'm going to do a lot of video projects with my students. And I'm just going to have a straight up homework section. I can do as many sections as I want. I can change them to be anything. I can decide, oh, I don't want this video section, however I choose it. And then I hit create. So what this is doing is it's now saying, okay, I've created a content library that like filing cabinet space for me. I've got my teacher only space. I've got a space for us to work. And I'm now getting an individual student duotang that only they can see. And in that duotang, they now have those 5 categories. So English, math, science, art, video, and homework. So don't be overwhelmed yet. I'll show you how this works, but I just want you to know that what I've built is literally a digital binder. And inside that binder, I see all the things I just told you about, the collaboration space, the content library, the teacher-only space, and then all of my students. And in each student duotang, I will find those 5 sections. So English, science, homework, art, math, and video. Because I am the educator, I see everything. If I was the student and I would come into my class notebook, you would notice here that as the student, I will not see anything other than the collaboration space, the content library, and my own binder. There are all the other students, there's the teacher-only section, but as the educator, I know right here that all I can do is see my own stuff. Any questions so far around the structure? Don't worry, we haven't explored it at all yet. As I said, it's kind of a very strange thing, a different type of program, but really think of it as a virtual digital, like a virtual binder, like your 3-ring typical binder, except instead of having your binder plus a grades, plus a space for working together, plus every kid's do-a-tang, it's all going to be in the same space. I saw Catherine's question about parents. Yes, you could give a parent a link to only their students or their child's binder space. They could actually already see like all of the work that their child is doing, because you could give them access just to that that do-a-tang, that one student's do-a-tang. Okay. The reason I like preface this with so much watch out or like caution signs is because everything else seems very logical. Like assignments make sense, posting makes sense, having meetings make sense. Then you talk about class notebook and it's kind of just like, oh my gosh, well, when do I use what? When do I use assignments? When do I use class notebook? Like, what is it for? Hopefully we'll get into that. But any other questions so far? Because if not, I'm going to give you literally 5 minutes just to go through the steps I did of creating the class notebook. Don't worry too much about the sections that you choose, because we can always go back and edit them later. If you're working, for example, in a test team or like you've been testing the assignments options as well today, do it in that team. But I would like you to go through the same steps that I did. So on the left-hand side of your teams, click class notebook, go through the steps of building it. So validating that you've got those 4 sections, choosing the student sections, and then hit create and let me know when that's done, because then I'm going to show you what you can do with it, because at least then you'll be able to play along. So your task right now is to go in and to actually build your class notebook. So create your class notebook in Teams. That's all you need to do right now. Lynn, how do you go to create the sections in the student binder? You'll see as you actually follow the process, it will come up with a section that says student, and then you have to go through. It'll automatically give you things like assignments, homework, class notes. Those will already be there. If you want to change them, you just delete what they wrote and write your own. If you want to add, you have the option to add at the bottom. So you should get to that. I believe it's like 1, 2, like the 3rd screen when you're creating your class notebook. Okay, good. Lynn said that she sees it. Awesome.
Alex, are you able to show us what it looks like from the student side?
Yeah, here, I'll show you right now. So if I go through as the student, so I'll show you, I'm in my student. So I am in Alex's space now. If I am Alex, I'm going to go to that general channel and I'm going to click class notebook. And from that class notebook environment, this is what I see as my kind of main page. If I click on that little kind of library symbol, then I'll see the welcome message. I'll see the collaboration space. I'll see the content library. I'll see my own name because that's the binder I'm working in. And if I click on my name, I see those 6 sections that my teacher sent out to me. From the teacher side of things, I will see the collaboration space, the content library. There's that section that the students cannot see called teacher only, and they're all for students. So the students really lose the teacher only and anybody other than themselves.
Can you change the color code of the tab? Like, do you have, or is it just randomly assigned? Okay.
You can change it. I'll show you how to do that.
Thank you.
And then let me know in that chat space when you're done, when you've actually completed. Just all I want you to do is just literally get to the point where you have a binder in front of you. Don't worry about putting anything in it yet. Okay, Elena's finished. That's great. Ashley's done as well. Awesome. And also, like, I know it's a lot of content. There's so much that we've seen today. Don't feel pressured to do everything. There are many teachers that just start with assignments and then a couple of weeks in decide, oh, you know, like I've got the hang of this assignment thing. Now I'm going to start using the class notebook because I can see a use for it. So don't worry. Sandra, don't worry about deleting all the information on it. It's no big deal. I'll show you how to delete pages and restore pages and all that kind of stuff. Also, something to point out is that if you have students that join your class, like join your team space after you've already created the class notebook, they automatically get added to the class notebook. If you have students that get removed from your class, you actually have to remove them from your binder. It keeps them there just in case you need like proof of work. So it just doesn't delete them automatically. You can go in and delete them from your class notebook if they are no longer a part of your class. Okay, I'm just going to wait to see from a few more people, have they made it through to the it is created? As I said, just create it. All I want you to see is that main like OneNote page that you're there, and then I'll show you how it actually works. Awesome, another one has completed, that's great. I'm gonna give you one more minute and then I'm gonna continue on.
Alexandra, I'm just gonna like check in that you're okay with connections. I don't know if it's not Alex. I know you're good. Alexandra, Fanny, I know she's been coming in and out.
Okay.
I hope everything's okay on your side.
I just pressed the wrong button, sorry.
No
I'm
problem.
working on two computers, so my mouse, I'm going, okay, this is mouse for this, the mouse is, oh.
It's okay, you're multitasking at it like a crazy level. Just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah, it's hard when you're working with two different computers and two different keyboard.
I have a yep.
The other day I went into the office for the first time in forever and I brought my keyboard with me, but I didn't bring the USB that needs to plug into my computer so that my keyboard works. So I couldn't type the whole day. So that was really helpful. Okay, it's 2:30. I'm going to move forward. Again, if this is like overwhelming, don't feel too stressed. Just watch my screen and then you can have plenty of time to play around. I am going to share my screen again and so you can have a good idea of what's to come. So this is my class notebook. This is that digital binder that I just built that I'm going to work on with my students. If I can find the right binder, here we are. Okay, so this welcome thing here, which tells you like, welcome to class notebook. It kind of does a little explanation and the frequently asked questions inside there. I don't ever keep this here for my students because it's not helpful to them. This is not the first thing I want them to see. So if I do actually want to have a welcome page and I want to put welcome to class notebook, I can make changes here. I can write my own thing. It's no problem. But if you ever want to delete that whole tab, the whole welcome area, I can just click on welcome. If I right click on it, I can actually delete the whole section. Here, Tammy, you'll see if I right click, I can change the section color. So this is where I have a bunch of different colors. I can choose to put them whatever I want. So maybe I do actually want to keep the welcome and I'm going to put it in teal green. Now it's teal green. It's completely up to you, however you'd like to do it. So I'm going to, if I don't want this welcome section, I just kind of want to keep it neutral and nothing here. I'm going to do a right click, delete the section. I'm going to permanently delete it because I don't actually need anything. And now there is no section called welcome. I just have that collaboration space, the content library, the teacher, and my students. So I'm going to start actually in the content library. I'm going to click on content library. And this is like kind of a chunk or like a big category in my binder. And underneath the content library, this is where I can have my tabs. Now, I have no suggestions for you on how you should structure your content library. Every teacher is different. This is so personal to you. I'll give you examples of the ways that I have worked with teachers on setting up the content library, but it's going to be so personal. If I open up my student section, I have created for them these 6 sections. So English, homework, video, art, math, and science. If you are a teacher that likes to copy the structure of your students' binders, i.e. you have a section for everything that's to do with English, everything to do with video, everything to do with art, in that content library, you could create those exact same sections. If you are a teacher that likes to work by themes, and in those themes, you will do English and video or art and math, maybe you create the sections that are themed. If you are a teacher that prefers to do things by weeks, maybe you create a section for each week or each month, and then everything goes into that. It's completely up to you how you organize your content library. Just know that the students can see it, because that content library is viewable by all, editable only by you. So what to put in here, as it suggests, pre-made pages like handouts. So anything you're going to hand out to your students, important information like syllabus, your calendar, your permission slips, class rules, course readings, notes, anything that the student might need to use as a resource to complete work goes in the content library. This is the place that you put things that the students then take and use to complete or use and understand. If it was me personally, to keep things simple, I would probably have a tendency to match the structure of the student binder. That's just how I work as a teacher. You can decide to set yourself up however it is that you work, whatever makes the most sense for you. How do I add a section? What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Content Library. I'm going to click on Using the Content Library, and I'm going to come right to the bottom and say Add Section. And in here, just because I said I'm going to follow along with my students, I'm going to create a math section. And now you can see that under Content Library, I have got a whole section dedicated just to math. I want to change the color because I can see that it's the same. And I know that, for example, my students' math section, whatever color this may be, is green. I'm going to match math to make it easy. I'm also going to make this, no, I think it's apple. There we go. So now my students have the same color. So again, I've got this content library. This is the place where I'm going to put things that students can use and take away. On there, I've created that math section. So I've got my first binder. I've opened that binder. In that binder, I'm now in my math section. And now I can start building pages. So maybe I'm going to do, for example, math activity number 1, beginning of the year math activity. It already has a page, because think tab, and inside that tab, pages. And I'm going to title this Math Activity 1. That's the title of the page. All I have to do is type above that line. Now, this is the point. If this wasn't already weird enough as a program, this is where it gets even weirder. There is no structure to a page. It is infinitely large, left and right, top to bottom. You can literally type and click anywhere. So I could type here, or I could type here, or I could type here, or I could type here. It's literally a free-for-all. Some people love this. Some people hate this. Completely depends on you as a teacher. I don't know how I feel about it. Some days I love it. Some days I don't. If I'm looking for a really unstructured way to organize, so for mind maps or brain dumps or any of that kind of stuff, this is great because you can kind of put things everywhere. If you want things to be more structured, you absolutely can, because you have got bullets, you have got paragraphs, you have got line spacing, you have got orientation, you've got all of that available to you as well, simply on that main space. So you can use it like a very traditional Word document where you could have like all of your bullet points and give your instructions and blah, blah, blah. Or you can have a very much free for all. It completely depends on you. If you want to delete something that you've typed, you'll see that every little text that you've written has a text box around it. You just simply take the box and delete it, and it will get rid of whatever it is that you wrote. Okay? So I'm just going to give you an example of what I would do for a math activity. So first things first, I'm going to show my students exactly what it is that they need to do. You could use bullet points to highlight the steps that they need to do. But what I love with OneNote is that I actually have these things called tags, and I can make a beautiful to-do list. So I can call this to-do list. So this is part 1 that they need to complete, part 2, part 3, whatever this may be, part 4. Maybe I want to have them look at different shapes. Maybe that's the math activity. So under insert, I'm going to go to the different symbols, and I'm going to look for all the different symbols that I want to talk about. So let's say I'm going to go to more symbols, and I'm going to choose whatever it may be. Triangle. Sure, insert that in. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Maybe I don't want that symbol. Maybe I actually want to draw them myself. I can do draw. I can choose my pen, and now I can draw. So if I want to choose to draw a circle, I can absolutely choose to draw a circle. If I want to draw a triangle, I can absolutely draw a triangle. Very easy to do. I can also go in from that same home section. I just come back here and click on my pencil again. Now I can come in and do whatever else it is I might need. So let's just say this is my math activity. I've given my students all the steps. I've drawn the symbols that they need. I've also maybe got a Word document or a PDF that explains in detail what it is that they need to do for their math activity. Under the Insert tab, I can actually include files. So great. So let's say I've got a file printout. I actually want my students to see the document. I'm going to go and collect the Word document, whatever it may be. Let me find something that I can actually share and use with you guys, because who knows what it is that I've got here. What is this? Voila. Open this up. I'm going to actually put this Word document straight onto my OneNote page. So I've got all of the things that they need to do, all the steps, they've got the example, and they've got all the instructions available to them here. Again, don't worry too much about the actual structure of the page. Just think of this as kind of like your activity sheets or your activities that you do in class here. You won't necessarily be doing homework in here. You might, but really just think of it as kind of a space for organization, for collaboration, for work. So don't forget, I've been building this in the content library. The content library can only be viewed by students. They cannot do anything in this space. So how do I actually get this out to my students to complete the math activity that I've sent to them? How do I get them to work on this? Because they need to be able to check off that they've done it. They have to draw the square, which is the next shape based off of the pattern activity that we're doing. What you can do with Class Notebook, if I want this to go into the math section for every student, you'll see right across the top here, you've got something called Class Notebook. And in here, you have a wonderful choice called Distribute the Page. So what I can say is I want to distribute this page. And I would like this to do a virtual photocopy into every single student's math section of their duotang. So what it's going to do is it's going to collect all the pages that are available. So it's going to look throughout all of the binders and see exactly where I could push this. And I'm going to choose then to stick it in the math section for every single student's binder. So hang on a second. I'm just going to try and do this again to make sure that it works. So again, I've built my homework assignment or my in-class assignment in that content library so that my students can't actually make any changes to it. And now using the Class Notebook feature, I am going to do a virtual photocopy into the math page of every student's binder. So here we go. It brings up the student sections. I'm going to click math and I'm going to distribute this. And what it's going to do is it's literally going to go like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and send this entire page with all of the parts, so the checklist, the drawings, the Word document, and the PDF to every single student in their math section. So if I'm the student and I now come and look inside my homework space, inside my class notebook, and I go to Alex and I go to math, in my math section, there's that math activity 1. And I can complete this. So I can do part 1. I finished part 1. I finished part 2. I know that based off of the homework assignment, I have to draw the next symbol, and the next symbol is going to be a square. So I'm going to draw a square, and then I'm going to draw a circle, and then I'm going to draw a triangle because I'm completing the pattern. On the teacher side of things, if I want to see what Alex is doing in her in-class activity, I can come to Alex's, I can look at math, and I can take a look to see exactly where she is and what she's doing on her math homework. So again, I would just find Alex, I would go to math, and it will now open up Alex's page where she was doing her math assignment. So its class notebook is much more geared towards like activity worksheets, projects, versus the actual simple assignments tab. This is why I said it can get very confusing. Many teachers will not use class notebook because they think that the assignments is enough. But for the teachers that like to see the student work, that like to see the students actually completing the in-class work, this is a great space to do it because you can actually send out entire pages or entire activities and have students complete them and monitor what's going on. So it's much more of a process space versus a complete and send back space. As I said, I know it's very confusing. There's lots of class notebook training available online because it is such a bizarre or different type of product. But I really like it because it gives my students that digital binder. Like they don't have duotangs. If they have the ability to have access to this technology, then we try to use it as much as possible. You can do some really insane things in class notebook. Like if I want to work in math some more and I want to add a new page because we're working on fractions, for example, right inside my class notebook, I have an option built in, insert math. And I can actually do math assignments straight in here. So if I'm, for example, working with my students and I would like to do like 1/3 equals let's say 4x, we're doing assignments, I can take that and say, I want this to be math. So I click on the math button and it actually turns it into the proper fraction that I want. And I can say, I don't know, graph both sides or solve for x. If I click solve for x, it's going to give me 1/12. X is equal to 1/12. If I want to put that answer in, I can simply take that answer and literally drag it onto my page. If I'm like, how did you do that? Like, how did you get x equals 1/12? I can ask it to show me how to solve a linear equation. So it shows me how I had to do that. I had to divide both sides by 4. I want to include that actually in my page. Okay, I'm going to just bring in the steps for how to solve a linear equation, and it puts it there for me. Oh, you know what? It might actually be really helpful to have like a quiz on this. I can actually ask this to create a Microsoft Forms quiz for me based off of this simple math equation. It's so powerful. You can, as the teacher, turn the math on or off. So if math is off, students would not be able to use this. If math is on, students would be able to use this to help them understand how they're doing equation solving, etc. So there's so many really cool things available to you directly inside the class notebook. You can insert links. So if you want to include a YouTube video, for example, that your students might want to watch about solving equations, you can embed a YouTube video straight onto this page and it will play right inside OneNote. You don't need to think about anything else. Let's say I'm going to find, I'm just going to go get like, let's say YouTube fractions, for example. Let's say I get this specific video. I can take the URL for this video. I can go into my class notebook and say, please watch this video regarding fractions. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to paste the link and press enter, and it will actually embed the video straight onto my page. And then if I press play, it'll actually play the YouTube video straight on the screen with no ads, nothing else. And then I can take this whole page and say, okay, this seems like a really good activity. You know, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3. I'm going to send this to every student. And again, I can just distribute this whole page, which has math, it has video, it has equations written on it, and send that into the homework, for example, and send that out to all students in their homework. So now they all have this. So it's such a cool tool that is available to you if you want it, but it's not a requirement to get a lot out of Teams. It's just such a bonus product to have because it is really that working space, like that in-class work, that less summative or formative, but much more just regular day-to-day classwork that can be accomplished in this space. So I know that's a lot. Are there any questions around this? Go for it, Tammy.
Is it an infinite canvas? Is it like an 8.5 by 11, or is it just, it's endless?
It's endless.
It's like the whiteboard, right? So it just keeps going and going and going.
You can
Okay,
limit it.
perfect.
You can change the page size if you wanted to make it 8.5 by 11. Let's say that you were getting students to work on a project that needed to be printed, for example. You could make that one page restricted down to that size. But if you don't, then it is literally infinite left to right, top to bottom, infinite canvas. And
If
like
we have the chance, I would love to be able to see it, just so that you can at least say, okay, this section is for that section is for this, and then I'm limiting it there to portrait or landscape.
Yes, you could definitely do that. The other thing that I want to say is that I love OneNote for my personal life. Like, I have a OneNote binder that's just recipes, because I love taking links for recipes that people send me, and I'm like, where do I put this? I literally have a OneNote binder that has nothing to do with Class Notebook. I have one that's just on my own, and I have it called recipes, and I have like winter, a section for winter, a section for summer, a section for soups, and then I just like put all of my different recipes that I keep there. And then when I'm at the grocery store and I don't really know what to make, I open my OneNote app on my phone, I go into whatever I'm feeling like, and then I have my whole recipes there. I use it for organization. So OneNote, you can put pictures with the app that's on your phone. You can like take pictures of receipts or documents or whatever. So instead of having one of those like accordion files for all the important receipts, I literally have a OneNote binder, and all of the receipts are just kept in there because I took pictures of them and put them in there. So there are many other ways that you can use OneNote that's not just for class environments, but the class notebook takes things like a whole nother level, because you have that teacher space, you have that collaboration space, and you have that individual space for every student. If you think that OneNote is something that you'd like to learn more of, because we only have 10 minutes left. As I said, we've already spent like over half an hour just on this. If you are like, yeah, oh my goodness, we'd love like a 1.5 hour session just on OneNote and Class Notebook, where you can really try it out, let us know in the feedback form that we'll be sending, because we can always offer or try to offer a session that is just OneNote focused. Okay. Any questions before I kind of wrap things up? Talk to you. Tammy says yes to more OneNote. I think everybody always loves more OneNote. Any questions before I kind of move to the wrap up, show you some resources, and end with a little bit of Q&A? Any questions? I seem to be okay. Awesome. One more thing I will just mention, just because we did go into it in the homework assignment, just to show you, is when you're creating an assignment, like I did in this Alex's class, if I go to create an assignment, a new one like I did at the beginning, hang on, create, you will notice that when I go to attach something, right, like where I attached that Word document, you'll see that Class Notebook is an option. So because you're using the binder, let's say you've got that more activity-based assignment created in a Class Notebook, you could always click Class Notebook. It will bring you to your digital binder. And then I could say, okay, in the content library, I actually want to assign in the math section, the math fractions as a homework assignment. So it'll actually send that page, again, assign page for students to edit. And this time I'm going to stick it in the homework assignment and done. So it actually now sends that page out to the distributed section in the homework, but now it also gives you the possibility of grading the rubric, the title, the due date, the calendar automatically there. So they work cohesively together, which I think is very helpful. Okay. So that's another piece.
Just Hélène went back to, and I think that's what she just put up her hand, the Immersive Reader for PDF.
Yes. Hang on a second. Again, just a reminder, I'm going to take a look to see if I can do it in here. I 100% know that it does it in the actual OneNote app. So I'm in the Teams app. There's a PowerPoint app. There's a OneNote app. It 100% does it in the OneNote app. I'm just going to check to see here if it will do it for me here. Hang on. Because what you have in the OneNote application is if I actually click on this, I can right click and have copy the text, and then it will just read that. But let me just see if it will do it here for me. So hang on for a second. Home. View. Immersive Reader. Okay, it's not picking it up on here. In the app, it absolutely does. So let me just see. Because the app has something in it that's not in Teams, it's called OCR, Ocular Character Recognition. It will absolutely read it out. So I think that it might actually only be available in the desktop app version of OneNote and not necessarily when it's inside Teams. But let me follow up on that with you to see if that's actually true or not, or if I'm just missing something. So I'll promise I'll get back to that question. I will do some digging to find out, because I know it's possible. I'm just not sure if it's doable in OneNote in Teams.
Thanks. Hélène, do you want to just, if you can, I'm going to send you an email address for help, and that way you can send the question there so that you will be responded back to in that way. So it'll be hello@cobblestonecollective.ca.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to just share my screen again one last time. I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint. And again, I've put literally everything in here for you. So how to create the notebook, how to create the sections, what are the different examples of ways that you can use the collaboration space. So these people used it for a group project and they did like a mind map inside the collaboration space. I've included all of this in the PowerPoint presentation that you all have access to. I've done like classroom examples. I've talked about different accessibility features. So there's lots in that PowerPoint that I've shared. If you are looking for more training, more content, more information, you do have access to this Microsoft Educator Center. Inside that Microsoft Educator Center, you will find a ton of resources. The website is education.microsoft.com. Because you actually participated in a session today, you actually will be able to get like a certificate saying that you did complete like a training with Microsoft. So if you want to know, it's just education.microsoft.com. If I go to it now, you'll be able to see. So if I do, for example, education.microsoft.com, it will take me to this Educator Center where I have a ton of different trainings. So how to transform learning with Microsoft Teams, how to do spec ed and accessibility resources for remote learning. And in there, all you need to do is sign in with your email address. So whatever your email address is for school, that's how you can sign in. And you can see that you actually can redeem a code. And in that code, you'll find I have here for you. That will actually just give you credit as proof that you completed X number of hours of professional development. So it's a really great way for you to get credit for having participated today. And last but not least, and potentially very importantly, we want to just say thank you so much to you. Thank you so much for participating today. I know it's a long time to sit down for almost, I think it's 2.5 hours, but I hope that what you've taken from this session is that there's so much more that you can do with Teams than you may initially think. And it's not as hard as it may seem. Hopefully with the resources that you gained this morning and this afternoon, you feel a lot more empowered and a lot more able to actually work with Teams as a product. If ever you do need extra help, as Tammy just mentioned, we actually have a wonderful email address, which is help@cobblestonecollective.ca. There are real people behind that email address. We will 100% get back to you and answer you. We have people that maintain and monitor that every single day. So if you have questions, that's where you can send them. You will also have access to this PowerPoint and the recording, obviously, through that cc.page. This one, the QPAT Teams, will take you to the PowerPoint. You will be getting the recording link later on. And last but not least, which I'm sure Tammy is putting in the chat, is the feedback form. This is the easiest way for you to let us know how we did today, whether you appreciated or you didn't appreciate, whether there were things you wish we had done or things that you absolutely loved, and also the opportunity for you to ask for more. So if you're like, oh, you know what, we just kind of dipped our toe in class notebook, I get the structure, but I'd love to practice more, let us know in that feedback survey. That's the place that we can kind of say, oh, you know what, there's so much interest, let's do this, or changes that we need to make, we really love, we pride ourselves on doing interesting and unique and collaborative sessions, and we love to get that feedback from you. So with that, I'm going to hand it over just to see if there are any more questions. If not, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for taking the time out of their day to spend 2.5 hours with me learning about Teams. We really appreciate you being here. We really appreciate your time. Hopefully it was worthwhile. Hopefully you learned a lot from me. Hopefully it was clear. Thank you so much to Tammy for being a wonderful MC and helping guide the session and hopping in with those questions. And if there's anything else, I'll hang on for a couple of more minutes.
Yeah, I'll just say thank you also to those of you who've done the whole day. It's been lovely spending Thursday, October 14th with you. So hopefully you've done as much learning and aha moments as I have throughout. And I've just started using Teams, but there was a lot that I was like, oh yes, I forgot. I was told this, but I forgot that I could do it. And now I feel like I might just tackle OneNote. But yeah, I'm definitely on the OneNote train. So thanks for that. And for all of you who've spent the day with us, I really, really appreciate your learning time. It's always great to be a professional and still learning and wanting to improve. So thank you all for that. I'll just do a small plug for QPAT. Please make sure to dip into all the other learning. You'll see Alex and I in other sessions as well. And hopefully you're also indulging in Margaret Atwood later tonight. So thanks everyone.